Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wilde Lake. This is our first attempt at doing a podcast this year, and I am lucky enough to have my man here, Mr. Vaughn Stamper, here to talk about some of the things that's near and dear to his heart. But I felt as though, with the starting off this podcast series, we want to showcase all the amazing things our alumni are doing. So we thought about that, and I started asking people about that around the school. Your name kept coming up over and over and over again. So you were obviously the first person I kind of wanted to bring in and talk to you about a couple things. So I appreciate you coming on the Wilde Lake podcast, sir.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it, Mr. Brown. And it's Wild Lake will always be home for me. So whatever I can do to help, I'll always be here to do it. So
Yes, sir. So talk to the people about like your overall connection to Wilde Lake. You know what I mean? When did you graduate? You know, what keeps bringing you back to the community and that type of
all right. And my name is Vaughn Stamper. So I graduated from Wild Lake class of 2008. What kind of keeps me here is the experience that I had here. I feel like talking to folks in college and in life, talking about my experience here and hearing other people's experience, it seems like the Wild Lake experience was a once in a lifetime experience, right? So I had some really good teachers that kind of helped me get myself together. Stayed in contact with me through hard times. After high school, friends that kind of became brothers to me, and that's what that keeps me here. And just saying that there and having a lot of kids that I used to coach or nieces, goddaughters, and everything that goes to this school, it kind of keeps me. And I want to make sure I can get back to the same community that gave me the opportunity to do something that I would never see myself doing. So
yeah, for sure. So we talked about this alumni spotlight, and I know you and I talked offline about this extensively. Why is this alumni spotlight important to you and trying to get off the ground here at Wild Lake? And how are you connected to so many people out here, man?
So why this is important for me is I think as when I was going through Wild Lake, growing up in the area, grew up in some of the apartments on the other side, and for me, it was the opportunity to really kind of figure out what's out there, right? So traditionally, depending on how you were brought up, coming from a working class family, you can name a couple careers. You know a million jobs, but you can name a couple careers, right? Doctor, lawyer, teacher, whatever your parents did, right? When I got a chance to step outside of that and meet new folks and get into the career path that I'm in, I realized a lot of my friends are doing some great things. So for me, it's an opportunity to show kids that look like myself, that grew up in the same community, that there's a ton of opportunities out there because there's unfortunately this negative stigma with Wild Lake for whatever reason that we don't produce anything, but we're a very successful school.
Yes,
So
yes, and that's one of the things that as a principal of the school that for me, the first thing I thought about was those negative stigmas and what's the best way that we can go about changing that. And you got to start within your own community
correct,
first, because sometimes it's the people within your own community that have
correct,
those negative stigmas, even though they're here.
correct.
So they need to know how great this place is and how many alumni we have out there that are doing outstanding things.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, your history and your past, who were some of the people that were instrumental to you in your life as you matriculated through as a young adult?
Man, of course, my mom for sure. All my great uncles were very, very, very helpful in keeping me on track at times. They were kind of like my mom's background reinforcement. My coaches, of course, Wild Lake specifically here, got a it's a host of folks, Coach Duvall, Coach Shu, the whole administrative staff at that point, Miss Sims, Mr. Whitaker, Mr. Seibel, I know they're elsewhere, Miss Leonard.
Okay. Shout out to all them. Shout out.
Yeah. Mr. Ware, who truthfully, I have no clue what Mr. Ware's actual position was here. We heard that he was like a ex former DA, whatever. And somehow he got here, but he was a good instrumental role model for me growing up. Oh, here and Asmar, who was one of the wrestling coaches, RP Asmar passed away a couple years ago. But it's just I guess like the community as a whole. There's a couple older folks from the neighborhoods that kind of kept me in line too. Their kids are now here. Kind of told me like, hey, you got something to you.
Right.
Understand it. I'm trying to kind of get into it, but I mean,
Yeah.
It's a host of folks, honestly. So
Okay. I appreciate that, man. And like I said, I asked you that because I know how impactful people are in your life. And you talk about that too. You wouldn't be the same person without some of these people,
no, absolutely.
In your life. And that's also to let other people know. Sometimes we think we can make it through life by ourselves. I don't need nobody, whatever else. No. You need people, and you need people that are going to be there for you on a regular
Absolutely.
basis. Talk about, and you probably have so many nuances to this question, but just think about what was like one of the bigger challenges that you had to face as a young adult, and how did you kind of persevere and go through that? I kind of know what you might say, but I'm curious what
I
you
mean,
might.
it's a couple joints specifically, but I would think honestly, the transition into I want to say kind of the real world experience, and that's like leaving high school, but that process there. So as a student athlete here, I was definitely more of the athlete before I was the student. Kind of was able to mingle and how I am the way that I am now is because I got along with a lot of folks. I could talk with my teachers and kind of maneuver, but truthfully, from an academic side, I did the bare minimum because that was my thing, right? I was more focused on everything else. But once it came to talking to college coaches, and then I'm showing them, first thing they do is they ask for your transcript, and my transcript does not match the conversations that I've had with these guys, right? They're like, they'll double take,
Right.
right? And going through that process of kind of having that closing conversation with them, well, hey, if you go this route, then we can come back and talk to you, and then kind of having those things happen. So I had to maneuver around that. And then in the school that I was gun ho to go into, pulled away from me, and I had to go the community college route, and that was my real learning ground. To like that, I can't. People, everybody else knows I'm smart. I don't act that way, so that was
Yeah.
like my driving thing. But then after that was losing my mom. But with losing her, I also realized the support I had around me, specifically, like I said, from Wilde Lake. I had coaches, Coach Merrill's, RP to Coach Merrill's. Shoot, they would call me, checking on me when my mom was in the hospital. I'm talking about, do you need food? I had a coach come with a whole bunch of Tupperware, make sure I was good for food and stuff like
Right.
that. So just that stuff there, just that introduction to the real world was kind of was that. So
So when you talk about that opportunity to play sports at another level and not really understanding, right, the impact or implications of not reaching your full potential in the classroom. This is just a small follow up to that. I want everybody to understand because I know there's probably a lot of young people that will probably listen to this. You have to maximize your potential every day
absolutely,
because if you don't, you can't then there's some things you can't just rush and pull through at the last minute and say, okay, I can make this good. It's just not possible. So in your situation, you found that out. But if you had to have a conversation with your younger self,
man.
your ninth grade self, you had to go back and have a conversation, what would you say to your ninth grade self?
Honestly, just stop playing around. From a accolade side here, like I had a great personality. I was homecoming, whatever. Every year I was here. I was prom court, just off my personality, but I by far knew I was smart, but I
Yeah,
just never transitioned that stuff into schoolwork. And for me, and like many other student athletes, I don't look at it like I need the schooling because my athleticism is going to take me a lot further, right? But when
right,
you get out there, especially at whatever school that you go to, everybody's going to be you or better.
correct,
And if you're
correct.
not going to push yourself and you do not have that determination to push yourself, everybody else is. And one of the biggest things I learned in college with one of my professors at Bowie was there's no such thing as half credit in the real world. So
Yep.
they're never going to give it to us.
Yeah,
So if you're not pushing yourself to work harder, then what are you doing?
yeah, I love that. Talk about what you, because I'm amazed by what you currently do. I know we talked
Okay,
about
yeah.
I talked about all the challenge stuff that's going on.
Federal Aviation Administration. One of the things that we do, that my group does specifically, we work in the navigation side. So essentially, we create let's say the highways in the sky
Mhm.
for planes. So my group helps planes get from point A to point B. So it's one of the many tools that they have. Honestly, I would never in a million years thought that I would get in this field. But truthfully, it's about networking, establishing connections, and people having confidence in the work that you do.
Yeah,
I got the opportunity through some college connections that are like, hey, you're good with this technical aspect. My degree was in sociology and criminal justice,
yeah,
and now I'm working in essentially an engineering field.
yeah.
So
With a dude that was just concentrating on sports at one point, and
uh,
now you're here,
right.
right? So that's a heck of a journey.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and I mean, it's the transition, but also using what I was good at in sports, being able to football specifically is one of the few sports that I would say can transition into the real world. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to deal with people that you might not like. You're going to face all different forms of adversity. So how do you handle it?
Right.
Do you stay down or do you get back up? Right. So essentially how I did that, and getting into this field on the ground level, learning and working with groups to fully listen to what people have to offer and how I can incorporate what I'm good at into that is how I got here. And I'm there from a senior level now. So again, went from the ground floor to a senior level position. It's like that if you ask me to name the actual role that I am, but I never know when it was a such thing.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing now is with what this purpose here is showing kids all the opportunities that are actually out there.
Right.
There's things that you could be good at that you don't know that can transition into whatever career that you might want to align with.
So your experience here to make.
You
know what I mean? I guess the PG version would get so much.
Yeah, of course. The creed of Wilde Lake has always been where diversity excels. And I saw that here. And I think that was like one of my biggest introductions to the real world as well, was the dynamic here at Wilde Lake. You can have people that grew up in apartments, and then you got some friends that live in some $1 million houses, right? So, but we all interact, we all mingle as a Wilde Lake family. We don't see anything from that standpoint. Mm-hmm. But my experience myself, man, coming in, I was definitely not necessarily a wild kid, but I hung out with everybody. Hung out with every group so I could kind of move and shake however, and had as good as in as bad. I was never in the principal's office for not necessarily.
So you never been in here.
I've been in here. I've been in here. But it was more or less, but even my conversations with then Principal Mr. Whitaker, it was like, Vaughn, you know that you're better than this. Right. So it was always positive, like, yo, stop putting yourself in the middle of things, that you shouldn't be in. Or like, hey, help XYZ out. So it's never been a negative, like, even with my negative feedback, it's always been positive. But for me, my experience here was great. There's very few teachers that I would say I did not like, but a lot of that was also because those teachers held you accountable. They were doing their job. But then a lot of the other teachers here also looked out for us a lot and with a lot of life lessons. So that's funny. Yes, like I said, I did SGA here for a point in time. I was a part of the BSAP program, ended up becoming a letterman. And even how I got into the letterman program was truthfully different. I was approached originally when they were bringing another academic program here, and I was literally told like, hey, we didn't know your grades looked like this, and it was not good, right? But they put me into the letterman program to let me see or kind of give me the opportunity to test myself and have confidence in myself and what I can do academically, and be in those same rooms with some other folks. And I pushed myself, and that truthfully gave me an upper edge to let me know that, like, listen, I can do whatever I want. And that really helped me out. But I mean, it was definitely family oriented here. My closest friends, again, graduated 2008, but my closest friends are still my closest friends. Like, we still talk to each other almost every day. Yeah. Still talk with a good amount of teachers from back then. Yeah, some of them still up in here, so Yes, some of them are still here. Even the ones that move elsewhere, I still talk to them. So it's definitely good vibes, man. Mr. Burt, talk to him every now and then about different things, sports, life, things like that. I mean, this is family. Wilde Lake is family, and again, talking to everybody I know that went to other schools, they do not have this type of experience at all. So that's important, man. And I want everybody to kind of understand is a special place. Even, prior to taking a job or everything else, people just talked about how special of a place it is and how everybody's family oriented in the community really engulfs the environment here. And you don't know it till you're really here. Yeah. And you're a testament to that. Because again, having this conversation with you and how passionate you are about the place, means a lot to me as a principal. And all I want to do is try to keep that going so everybody kind of understands it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that. Again, I could talk about not just myself. I mean, but we have doctors, lawyers, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. We have news anchors. We have people that are writing movies and on a lot of our favorite TV shows. People that are doing that, creating their own podcasts themselves and social media presences and influencers. There's a million different folks that have gone to this school that I can think of that are doing great things. And again, Wilde Lake will never get that rap. If I was to name half the people and tell folks that they went to Wilde Lake, people really like, are you serious? And I mean, that's the truth. And that's what I want to get back to. They always talk about, we don't come back. Like, we want to come back. We trying to figure out ways to come back. And that's a big part of what I've been trying to do over the last couple of years. We've been trying to put career panels together of alumni specifically, so kids get the opportunity to ask questions. Like, a lot of us walk the same paths as you, caught the same buses, So that's what this is about, to give that enrichment to kids and give them the understanding and the confidence, truthfully, to know that could be you. That's your situation. You're not alone, like you said earlier. That you're not alone. Somebody else has experienced that. Like, I know for sure I have experienced some situations, right? But I've had the support around me, and I definitely heard nothing but positivity about you and
Yeah.
what you're doing, and I appreciate that and that influence that you're trying to do on these kids. I think it's what Wild Lake needs. So.
Yeah, that's much appreciated, man. Like I said, I think everybody plays a role part. And for me, it's really about being God driven and doing what I think, excuse me, is right for kids
Absolutely.
and fighting for them and being an advocate. So
Yep.
I want to continue to do that. I just got one more question for you, man. We talk about here, kids have a Be Relentless banner out there, and kids are like, oh, what's that supposed to mean? I said, look, we want to be relentless about everything that we do. And I don't want us to have any opportunities where we want to give up or
Right.
think we can't do something or allow the outside circumstances to dictate what we can and cannot achieve. Talk to me about a situation where you had to be relentless. Maybe a situation where somebody told you wasn't going to be able to do something. Maybe it was a situation where you were at the edge and was about ready to give up on a dream or goal. Talk to me about a situation where you had to be relentless.
Honestly, it goes to something that I touched base earlier, like losing my mom, but also the preparation for that. My mom got sick truthfully, she got sick around my senior year of high school, but she hit it well.
Yeah.
Right. So my transition in college, I started to see it more. But it was kind of that thing where my mom introduced me to a lot of her issues or things that she's done to sacrifice for me, paying the bills and things. And like I'm learning about how to pay rent and how to go into how to pay BG&E and all these portals as a
Trying
19.
to prepare you. You ain't even know, but trying to prepare you.
Yes, mentally, and didn't understand that. So then it was that process of, all right, if she did this for me, I have to be able to do this for her.
Right.
So I was so determined to not let her sacrifice. She passed away a month after I graduated from college, but still, even then, I wanted to make sure that everything that she had sacrificed for me, moving us from the city to here, was not in vain.
Yeah.
So I continued to push myself, and I, to this day, continue to push myself to always make sure that I set a benchmark for myself. I set a personal and a business goal for myself every year to try to achieve it. And that's because of my mom's sacrifice,
Right.
because she could have done the bare minimum, and she could have not took us into this situation and just wanted to give me this opportunity to do something different than what she was used to. And she sacrificed a lot to get up and get us out here, and I would feel terrible to let that go in vain. And to the point where I can literally tell you at a point in time, like, I'm in comparison with my mom past that her salary, because that's to the point where I was helping her do her taxes as a college, just because I was going to school for it. But I've set a goal, and my first entry level job, I made twice as much as my mom, a little bit more than twice, and that was like $40,000, right? And then since then, I've been able to double and triple,
Right.
And
that's a legacy piece, right?
And
like you could have squandered her legacy and not achieve and reach your potential.
Yeah.
But you decided and made a conscious effort that my mom's death, stuff like that. I want to live on, carry on her legacy, and
Absolutely. And that was the expectation and standard that I set for myself. And again, my friends from here and the people that knew me from here, teachers and whatnot, also held me accountable for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There would be times, even my younger early 20s, I'd be out here, posting some dumb stuff, and they like, you know better, right? And I'd be like, you're right. And then now I see that, like, because your Facebook memories will tell you some things you were saying that be unforgivable. But yeah, my relentless moment was like really just, pushing myself for my parents.
Yeah.
So
look, man, is there anything else that you want people to know, whether about yourself or different things that you have going on? I always give people and guests opportunity to tout or talk about anything that they want to.
I mean, I do a million things, honestly. I mean, we talked about some of the things now. So overall, from a community standpoint, man, if anybody else sees this, any alumni, y'all get interested from this, or y'all know, or anybody sees some folks that they know, we're trying to make this a lot bigger. You and I talked about it, so get back. I would love to get back with that. Partner with some folks to do some clothing drives and some food drives specifically for, hate to say specifically for the community, but this is home for me.
Yeah.
In addition to my actual career path, I run a Howard County Turks youth football program. Again, got into that from a dad whose son played football with me here. And that's kind of been my thing here. And I've coached a couple of kids that's currently here now. But other than that, man, I'm just always trying to be positive and push myself. Again, fortunate for the opportunity. Would never thought in a million years I would be sitting here talking about any stuff, even with that mindset. But I definitely just appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, I think this is, this is going to get bigger. It's going to get better. Like I said, this is, along with the process of, coming to a new school, seeing what we have, what we don't have, what we can do to kind of build things up, definitely from a multimedia perspective. And so we're going to work on those things and make those things better, but I also look forward to other guests as we continue to move forward the school year on what they're doing and how they can be an influence to our kids.
Yeah.
You think our kids don't need the influence? But one of the kids pulled me up today, like I put something, we recently had a passing of a student and I really have shaken the community and I put something out about how you really should channel your emotions. And, student came up to me and said, Mr. Brown, that video you put out, you're inspirational. Like that's inspirational, which came out like nowhere, like talking about something else. You think our kids don't need inspiration or they're too tough or they don't need it? And they do. And so I hope that this particular series motivates people, lets them know what they're capable of, and if we can do that, then I think we'll be in a better place. So I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're busy, taking the time out to be here today. And like I said, we'll be doing bigger and better things kind of moving forward. So
all right, cool. And I got one. And for the kids here, main thing I would say is like, don't let your now define you. Like, and what I mean by that is like, if y'all going through stuff now, like be that relationship issues, work issues, mom, dad, whatever, don't let those moments define who you are and who you could be. Because unfortunately, what we're seeing now is, a lot of people let those moments and those emotions change their whole future in the negative. So don't use your resources, ask for help, be that in the classroom and in life. Understand that there's people out here that genuinely care about you, that want you to succeed and want to be there for you. So do not let your now define you. So
yes, sir. That's good. Well, that's a wrap, everybody. We appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast. Again, we will continue to give you more of the content that you guys want. And like I always say, it is always here better at the link. So
yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all. See y'all again next time.
Yeah, cool. Definitely appreciate it.